And good evening and welcome to another Blake Society event. We've got a real treat for you tonight. Uh, Before I tell you what it is, and you probably know if you registered, please make sure you got a pen and paper with you, within reach, and find a quiet place where you'll not be disturbed for the duration of the workshop. Go to the shed or the arbor or the quiet room at the top of the bell tower. Um, Before I introduce tonight's honoured guest, just a heads up for forthcoming events. We have at the Bradford Literary Festival on Sunday, the 30th of June, an event about Blake and Khalil Gibran that features John Sadiq in conversation with me, and Blake and Mental Health with Jason Wright, who, of course, we've seen online for the Blake Society. It's very good if you can make it to Bradford to see him alive and in the room as well, and we'll be in conversation there. It's on Sunday, the 30th of June, and that's very much in the morning events. I think the first one's at 10:30. On Wednesday, July the 3rd, we have Dr. Mark Vernon, very distinguished academic and author of many books, on Jesus the Imagination, on taking Blake's Christianity seriously. And now to introduce our honoured guest. I met Dr. Sarah Walton, who is our guest speaker and a facilitator, workshop facilitator, I should say, tonight at Jason Wright's book launch. I remember that Sarah was the first person I spoke to. She was so friendly and told me all about what she does and how she does it in terms of a soul writing workshop. And Sarah lives in Lewis, down there, where they carry flaming barrels around on certain occasions. And she said it was very witchy, as in witches, but that she liked that. And I liked that too, because I was a teenage warlock. So Dr. Sarah Walton, who developed the soul writing method after a brain injury to help her write fiction again. She's a novelist and a writing coach with a PhD in creative writing and has taught an MA in creative writing. She is the founder of Soul Writing Coaching. And Sarah's going to guide you through tonight's experience very expertly. So with no further ado, Sarah, would you like to join us?
Hello.
Hello. There you are. Brilliant. So, Sarah, so nice to see you, and thank you for doing this event for us. Can I turn it over to you now and let you get on with it without my silly gibbering and interruptions?
Thank you
Great
for
to
the
see you, and thank you
introduction.
so much for this.
Thank you. I'm going to share my screen, everyone. Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining, and thank you to Stephen and the Blake Society for inviting me tonight. Tonight's about Blake's door of vision and your door of vision as well. So this is a practical workshop. And as Blake believed, and I believe, we all have a door of vision that we can walk through into our unique imaginations. So we're going to do a bit of writing. So as Stephen said, if you could have a pen and notebook near you, put your phone on silent and keep yourself on mute, please, just in case there's any doggies barking in the background while we're meditating, because we're going to be doing a bit of that. Find a quiet, private place. And most importantly, get comfortable in your body. So it's the end of the day, and some of you might just have got back from work. So just start to become aware of your body and your breath as we move forward. It's a few words first. So what we're going to be doing, I'm going to tell you what soul writing is, just briefly. And then we're going to talk a bit about the Gothic arch in Jerusalem, this epic poem with these beautiful 100 plates, and we're going to have a look at the first one. We're then going to go on a journey, an inner journey, so do some meditating. And then we're going to talk a bit about poetic guides, do a second journey. You'll have the opportunity, some of you, if you'd like to share your work. And then we're going to talk about practical ways of keeping your writing going, if you wish to, and a few questions. So what is soul writing? As Stephen said, I sort of discovered it, although I think it's nothing particularly remarkable. It's something that poets and artists, I think, have all been aware of since beginningless time. But I had a brain injury in 2004. I was knocked on the head and found myself unconscious. And it was a very slow recovery. And I remember being told by a neuropsychologist that I should get used to the idea of not being able to write fiction again, which for a novelist is extremely distressing. And I felt within me a very strong sense and a voice inside say I can. I knew that that was not correct, that I would be able to write fiction again, but I had no idea how I'd do it. I couldn't really speak English very well at the time, not that I perhaps can now, but the language had been affected, as had my other languages, and I had no idea how this was going to happen, but I had no doubt whatsoever that I could write. At school, we're taught think, then write, most of us. So what I did while I was playing, and Blake is the master of play, I think, I was playing around, meditating, and I'd been a meditator since I was about 11 years of age. I taught myself from a very old, ancient book I found in a school library to do some chakra type Hindu meditation. So I'd liked this feeling and I'd carried on, and I carried on throughout my life. So I was in a state of meditation, and I did that quite a lot when I was recovering from brain injury because it helped me to cope with the pain. And I just randomly picked up my pen and just started writing. I didn't write what I thought I wanted to write. I wrote what wanted to be written. And what wanted to be written was a story about an ancient goddess. She happened to be a Christian goddess, wisdom, the archetype of wisdom, Sophia in ancient Greek. And she led me on a journey, a few words at a time, a few images in my inner world, a few locations. And very gradually over time, I wrote her story, her fiction story. And I felt that I was being guided, as many writers and artists have felt, musicians. Over time, I felt that my pen was moving itself and I was being guided by this archetype of wisdom, Sophia, personified. I could see her in my inner world, and she became more clearer to me in my inner world as I kept going back in and meditating. So jump forward many years, I had some friends and they were novelists and they were blocked. And so I thought, well, maybe this approach might work with them, and it did. And then I started to develop courses, and here we are today. So soul writing combines meditation, free writing techniques, and you use your intuitive skills. I've been connected to electrodes and to a computer, and I've seen what happens in the brain when we meditate them right and when we think them right. When you think them right, the left hemisphere of the brain sparks more electrical sparks in the neural pathways than the right. When you meditate them right, the right hemisphere of the brain sparks more. And the right hemisphere is what's switched on when we meditate. So that's the benefit of it. And I believe strongly the inner critic, the voice that says, you can't write, you're not good enough, it's rubbish. It must be very intellectual and profound. No, you can't write some fairy tale because that isn't intellectual enough. All those sorts of voices. Your grammar's no good. It's nothing to do with drafting. This is to do with drafting. So I encourage you, as we move through and as we start doing some writing, forget about grammar, forget about full stops. Left brain, very helpful for editing, analytical, and turn the critic on then if you like. But for drafting, for getting that first draft down and just playing around, we're in the mud, we're in the sandpit, and we're just playing. We're not judging. So that's what we're going to do. It's very it's very good at getting people past writer's block. So if anyone out there is wanting to work on another project, not what we're going to do today, and play around a bit, you might use some of these techniques to help you with that as well. So the Gothic Arch, Blake's epic poem. The arch is a portal. I love this. He uses gates and portals a lot in his work, and they are symbols of moving from one place into another, one state into another. So that's what we're going to do. And I wanted to start with this. Here we have Los, the personification of the poetic imagination. And this is part of Blake's personal mythology, and we can all create our own personal mythologies. And so we're going to do some of that too. And he carries a lantern of the London watchman, a symbol of the light that will guide him into the darkness on his soul journey. And like so many descent stories, there's a guide, and this aspect of the psyche, this archetypal figure who steps forward to lead the traveler into the unknown, is important for the artist, for many artists. And the traveler is Blake himself, and tonight it's you and me. And in Blake's personal mythology, this representation of the imagination is all powerful. This representation, this character that takes us and starts us like the fool in the tarot on the journey to step into the unknown, is the beginning of the journey for reconciliation and universal reconciliation, and a stepping back into wholeness, into synthesis. So on this first journey we're about to take now, you will step into, I'm going to encourage you and invite you to step into the landscape of your own imagination. And we're going to create your own personal inner space. And I'm going to invite you to connect with a sense of safety. And the reason for this is imaginative safety, of course. But the reason for this is that the one thing that blocks writers is fear, and many stories around it. So if we can step, first of all, into a feeling of deep, deep safety and relaxation, it's a very good starting point for us. So get your pen ready and get really comfortable. I encourage you to sit up if you can, but if you really feel you want to lay down on the sofa, you can do that too, but don't fall asleep, because that won't that will be very nice, but it won't help so much in the process. And I'm going to ask you now to become very aware of your body and to connect with your breath. So connecting with your breath and closing your eyes. And taking a very slow inhalation. And then a slower exhalation in your own time. Just noticing where your breath is this evening in your body. Is it high up in your chest, or is it low down in your diaphragm? And just noticing the breath as it moves in and out of your body. And on the next inhalation, imagining the breath moves all the way down to the soles of your feet. And on the next inhalation, imagine the breath moving through your heart center, the area in the center of your chest, and gathering there a golden light. And then breathing this light all the way down to the soles of your feet. I'm feeling this golden light warming the skin on the soles of your feet. And just breathing in and out. Now you have this golden light moving through you. Imagining the light expanding. Warm, comforting. And in each inhalation, imagining the golden light entering every cell in your body, all the way up into your neural pathways, lighting them up, expanding into all areas of your brain and inviting your brain to relax into this warm, golden shower of light. And on the next exhalation, let go of identities. Let go of teacher. Let go of therapist. Let go of father, mother, daughter, friend. Let go of let go of husband. Let go of all the identities that make up who you are. You can put them back on at the end. It will happen automatically. For now, identify only with the breath and the golden light. So becoming the breath. Allowing your body to be fully present to the breath. And on the next inhalation, visualizing the Gothic arch that Los walks through in plate 1, the image on the screen before you closed your eyes. Imagining that arch ahead of you, suspended in space. Visualize it in your imagination. You hold the light, the golden light of the sun, the golden light of intuition within you. I invite you to step through the door. Step through the door into the safest place you've ever been. The safest and most creative place you've ever been. On the other side of the door, the other side of this Gothic art, in Blake's vision, is your own safe, creative space. It's personal to you. And only you are the creator of this space. So I invite you to open up your senses and breathe in this space. You are the interior designer. Your brief is safety and creativity. What does it look like? Where are you? You might find yourself in the woods because the woodland areas are safety to you. You might like forests. You might like a beach. You might want to be in a cave. It might be very, very warm. You might feel the sun on your skin, and that gives you a sense of safety and relaxation. Or others might be in a Swiss chalet in the mountains with the snow gently falling peacefully outside the window and a hearth with a roaring fire. Open your senses. What can you smell? Breathe in, reconnect with the breath in this space. What can you hear? You reach out and touch something. What's the texture like on your skin? Walk around in this space. Maybe you feel like taking off your shoes and socks if you're on the sand. Or perhaps you want to put on some very, very comfortable slippers and curl up by the fire. Get yourself very, very comfortable. Can you smell anything? Perhaps the smell of baking bread connects you with creativity or safety. Or maybe you can smell exotic flowers on the breeze. Find a space where you can sit down, relax, and feel creative. What would you put there? Would you put pens, an easel, a violin? Do you want a bucket and spade if you're on the beach? Does that make you feel creative? Or perhaps a desk and an inkwell and a quill pen. It will be different for everyone. So connect in what's right for you in this space. And now I invite you to pick up whatever it is that you've put here to get creative with and play. Play with no thought of what you're going to do. Just pick up your pen or the paintbrush or start moving your fingers across the piano keys. If you want to make daisy chains in the grass, or if you want to play with Lego because that's what you've put there, do that with no thought of any result, just for the sheer enjoyment of it. Play. I invite you to play. Connect in with this process of playing with all of your senses. What does it smell like if you're playing with the grass? Does the grass all of a sudden smell much more intense as you move around in it? If you're playing with paint, how does it feel if you get it on your fingers? In fact, how does it feel to use your fingers to paint on the canvas? Take a risk. Do something you might not have done before. You're staying with the breath, staying present to the experience. I'm going to invite you now to just look around and get a sense of your body in the space. Is there anything you could change to make it safer, to make it feel safer, more comfortable, more relaxing? Maybe you'd like some soft music or to hear Tibetan bowls in the background. Maybe you'd like to hear the sound of rain. Just imagine it there. You are the interior designer of this space. For others, you might want to have a very comfy cushion that you can lay back and relax into. So getting a good sense of this feeling of safety and creativity, this freedom to create whatever you want, however you want. Feeling this in your body, noticing how it feels emotionally, where you feel this sensation of safety in your body, being very present to it. And now reconnecting with the golden light, breathing the light into your shoulder, down into your writing hand. Just breathing this golden light in and out, imagining it pulsating in your writing hand. And when you're ready, picking up your pen or pencil and describing this place. If you like, you could start by your journey through the arch, or you can just start where you are in this place with your pens or your Lego or your cooking utensils, whatever it is that made it safe and creative, describing through your senses. So if you're in the forest, what trees are around you? How tall are they? Are they pine trees or are they oak trees? Describing what you see, the colors. Is it sunny? Is it daytime? Is it nighttime? Describing the atmosphere on your skin. Hot, cold, pleasant. Describe this feeling of safety. Where did you feel it in your body? Describing how it felt to play. Describing what you can smell. Did you taste anything? Perhaps if you were by the beach, you could taste the briny saltiness of the air. Did you notice anything about the textures around you? Could you hear anything? Seagulls, music. And what did you do to make it safer at the end? Describe what that was. If it was soft, pink cushion, describe what it felt like, what it looked like, how it made you feel to rest into it, into the feeling of safety. And if you want to gather more detail, because there's always more detail, breathe yourself back in to your safe, creative space and reconnect. Reconnect with the feeling of being there. Reconnect with your senses, most importantly with your body. Be fully embodied in this space, feeling your feet on the ground, feeling the sensations on your skin, breathing in this space, and then writing some more about this experience of being here in your safe, creative space. Hey, I'm going to give you 1 more minute. So finishing up your description, this space is important. This is the place I'll encourage you to return to again and again if you get blocked, if you'd like to write or do anything else creative. This place of play and safety and relaxation. Get a good sense of it, anchor it on the page with your pen. Anchor it in your body. So finishing up now, just making a few more notes. And I'm going to invite someone who'd like to share what you wrote, to share your experience of this place as optional. Some people might not want to share. It'd be great if someone did, just so you can get a sense of how different everyone's places are. Janie, your hand is raised.
Thank you.
Thank
Can
you.
you hear me?
I can.
All right. So mine's a brief little piece. So I read it.
Please do.
Okay. Entering through the Gothic arch with a lantern held out from the right arm, it's a thick, contained darkness. As I move into the darkness, I notice a moist and green smell, mold and lichens on the cave wall. It's so black, broken only by the golden beam from my lantern. Light around me, protective, reaching into corners of this cave, which feels very deep and far down. An ocean is at the opposite end of the cave. I become aware of the pulse of the waves on the outside. There are spots of life along the cave walls. I see it is embedded with raw phosphorescent rocks, glowing like opals with splashes of color. I hear string music and see up near the roof of the cave bodiless angels made of light playing their stringed instruments. They are protective and inspired singers who do not disturb with their music, but add a quiet, harmonious background. I find a wedge of rock to sit on. It's rough, but comfortable. There's a fire in a pit in the center of the cave that provides more light and warmth, moist air warmed by the fire, a deep, quiet place below an ocean, surrounded by that tidal force and movement that seems eternally flowing outward and strolling inward. Thank you.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Beautiful.
Fun. It was fun to be there.
Yeah, fun to be there, and it's very contained. It has some beautiful similes. It's not this is draft, so but it was very sounded like it flowed. Is that how it felt as you were writing it?
Very easy. Yes, it came very easily.
And I mean, the we're in the unconscious now when we go into the imagination, especially if we dip straight in from meditation. And you've got all these wonderful, you have the ocean, the cave, which are symbols of the unconscious. So you've gone straight in there. You're even under the ocean in the cave. That's wonderful. So this is really the beginning. You can continue this as I keep dipping back in, and once you've met your poetic imagination guide, you can take this as far as you want to, Janie. But I love all of the elements you have here, the fire of creativity as well, warming you. And the wonderful glowing like opals and these bodiless angels. It's this symphony of delight. It's all ready and feels like it's full of aliveness and ready and raring to kind of keep creating itself. It
Yeah,
feels a lot of movement. Is that how it felt for you?
very much so. And it definitely feels like I've been reading a lot of Blake lately.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got into your inner world, but you've made it your own too. This
Thank
is,
you.
yeah, your own cave under the ocean, um and this moist green smell as well. You've really opened your senses
Mm.
in this space. Um, so yes, and is this did you get a strong sense of safety?
Yes, especially the enclosed feeling around me felt very protective, not threatening.
Okay, wonderful.
Mhm.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
sharing. It's beautiful. Would anyone else like to share?
Sarah, we have Lizzie Ostrom is ready to share, and Hayley McDonnell.
Wonderful. Thank you. Lizzie, do you want to go first?
Hi, yeah, sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. It is a womb with no walls, no door, no way in or out, no smell, no sound, just touch and one colour. Feathers of grey, dove grey, no glint or sheen, all fluff and newborn gosling dried out in the sun and softened. But the feathers are large, larger than a hand, floating piles upon piles, 1,000 pillows deep. You will burrow down and not reach the limits of the feather. You will sink deliciously in like a sycamore spinning, churning them. You will catch a feather up, float up, glide and step and stretching. The touch emphatic, but nothing at all. Not there, but that it is. That's where I was.
Wow, not there, but that it is.
Yeah, I don't know where that it was a surprise place for me.
Yes, and wonderful, full of paradoxes and contradictions. This, and you sum it up in the last line, not there, but that it is. And this yeah, womb with no walls. Yeah, it's yes, it's sort of if you're very contained, but at the same time infinite. And this reminds me of that line, the imagination is life, everything is imagination, or
Hmm.
life is imagination. It's it's got substance, and then it changes. There's this constant changing. So the feathers and the pile upon pile of feathers, and the sycamore and the movement and the floating upwards, and the constant sense of change, and also softness and newness, and the newborn gosling. It's just wonderful. So there's a sense of birth and birthing and spring. I was getting this sense of spring. How was it feeling? But if you know, obviously the womb, I mean, what a like cave, but this safe space we've all been born from. So it felt incredibly potent with creative energy, all this symbolism, just full of spring-like symbols and birth and rebirth symbols. Is that how it felt for you?
Yeah, it's interesting. It felt like I was surprised that I went to a place where I was so kind of hermetically sealed off, and that it was not a kind of strong sensory world, and it was very abstract. Whereas before we started, I thought I was going to go to a very definite sort of place or environment, and then, but it was interesting, rather than feel threatened by the singularity of it, you know, this weird world of feathers, it felt very exciting and weightless and freeing. And actually, I didn't write about this, but when I was meditating about what the creative tool was, it was just sort of sparkler light coming out of my fingers. So that there was no, again, there's no sort of substantive tool. It was all quite ethereal and intangible, but that was very exciting to me.
I
Thank
love
you.
that. Thank you. The sparks of light coming out of your fingers. Yes, and yes, we all are the creative spark in our lives and in our work, our creative work. That's beautiful. And I hear you. Yes, you had, we can't help but have some expectations before we go into these things. And often our imagination springs some wonderful surprises on us. Is this a place, Lizzie, that you'd feel comfortable to go back to again?
Yeah.
Yeah, you enjoyed
Yeah,
it. It felt like it. Good. Yes, use it. Wonderful. I have the sense that it will probably keep changing. It seems in constant change. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Hayley, I think you were next.
Oh, excuse me. Hello, I lost my voice then for a minute.
Hello, thank you for
Hello, my
joining.
lovely. Hello. I'm quite different. I kind of almost instinctively knew what I wanted to write about and where my place was, and I suppose it's a very physical and a very real place, as well, literally very real. So, excuse my prose, but I wrote, I'm open, I'm ready. I can see it now. I know where it is. I am on the beach. I am next to the sea, and it is there for me. I have a city in the background that's large, but not oppressive, but impressive. I'm safe. I want to be here. I like playing with the shells, making shapes and patterns, using the power of nature, the shells and the sand. It's not too soft and hard. It's uncold, but perfect for me. It feels soft and relaxing, an overarching feeling of safety. And the sea was close, there for me to hear in the background, almost like music, continuing to mesmerize, always there. I feel calm, and I know that this is my place and my space. I can be here anytime. I can return, and I feel me. I can do anything, and I will do anything.
Wow, amazing. I feel me. I can do anything and I will do anything.
Yes.
Strong determination too. And so this, you had a sense of safety in the sand, and it's soft and relaxing, but you end on this very very creative note of I feel me. So this energy is coming from you.
Yeah.
and I can do anything. And how did that feel? I can do anything. Is that for me?
Exciting.
Exciting?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And affirming and yeah, and I can do anything.
You can.
Okay.
You can. And the power of nature was your tool. Is that
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And nature's come through all of these very strongly, both Janie's and Liz's and yours. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Just looking at the time, we have time for
Sarah, do you want
one
one
more.
more? Yeah,
Yeah,
one more.
one more.
Just to comment on Lizzie's sparking fingers, because Blake said, "My fingers emit sparks in expectation of my future labours," when he arrived at Felpham, and of course, it was a very creative period for him. Yeah. Next
Lizzie,
up,
I hope you have a project.
yeah. Next up
Gonna have to now.
Will be Theolin, I believe. Theolin, who's happy to share in the chat there.
Can you hear me then?
Yes. Hello, Theolin.
Hello, lovely to meet you. I found myself when I went through this arch in a very richly furnished palace kind of room, almost like something from an old Victorian painting of King Solomon. You know, the kind of tapestries and the rich velvets of those Victorian images of what Solomon's amazing place would have been like, with all the gold and so forth. So it was very rich, and there was a smell of incense in that kind of old, very ancient kind of feeling to it. And the music was like, you know, a lute or a lyre, or again something that felt very, very ancient. And so there was all this comfort, almost a kind of lazy luxury around. But then I was drawn to look out of a window, which was also arched in the same way. And I was looking out onto a kind of Renaissance landscape, rather like an old picture from the paintings of the Books of Hours or something. And in the distance, I could see castles, but I could also see angels, although that's not surprising because I've done a lot of work with angels. And as I was standing there looking out, almost wondering what next, I felt the presence of a being that I'd had before in my meditations, who's a lioness. She's very substantial, and I'm quite a short person. And when she's beside me, I feel as though she's as big as I am. You know, she's tall. Her height is like, even though she's sitting. And she's very, very comforting and very motherly, and definitely a kind of wisdom being. And she pads along beside me, and to reassure me that even though my gaze is on something that seems distant and perhaps almost unreachable, that it's not something that's totally beyond me. I think I've felt that with my creativity sometimes, is that I'm reaching too far. You know, I'm trying to reach beyond my capacity in some way. But she's reassuring me, and she's very grounded. So, and I did have this feeling of integration, the creativity that sparks in me quite a lot. So I'm a kind of fiery person, a bit like Blake in some ways. That somehow I do have the capacity to ground it. So that was very enriching as an experience. Thank you.
Thank you. That sounds very, I mean, there's so much there, isn't there? Did you have a strong sense of safety?
I did when she appeared, because with all this wealth around me, and that was what it felt like, so much wealth, that it was almost distracting in a way. you know, so what do I do next? And that's when I went to the window, and but she was there to reassure me. So she was she was the being that could bring me to safety. Very feminine, golden presence.
And a lioness, and so she has this carries a queenly presence as well, as
Oh yes,
presence of sovereignty. That's your gives you back your self sovereignty. So you have this sense that nothing is beyond, or
yes,
your creative
yeah.
reach is not beyond your reach.
Yes,
And
I mean she was like Aslan, only feminine. Yeah.
wonderful, wonderful. There's so much there that I feel like my left brain, my analytical side is, you know, you look out over this Renaissance landscape. I want to start kind of unpacking it. It's just incredible. But I think what I've learned is it's fine to do a little bit of analysis, but it's best to allow it to be, and to just go back there and to be very integrated in the space, in your body, and reconnect with this powerful sense of creativity that all of those of you that have shared, that you're plugged into now, and this sense of safety within that sense of creativity. And it's wonderful. I know there's other hands, but we need to move on. So perhaps if we can start moving on to what we're going to do next, and perhaps you can have an opportunity to share then. So I'm going to move on to the next slide. Yes, it worked. So thank you. You stepped into this wonderful place. You're going to go back there soon. Theolin, you have a guide that stepped in. She's already, you know, she's done some of her work. She's guided you into, you know, feeling that this isn't beyond you, all this richness. There was a sense of perhaps you could be overwhelmed or drawn into that, but she's grounded you. So we've already got an example in Theolin's lioness of this kind of motherly female archetypal figure that has stepped forward to help Theolin connect with this sense of integration, and that her imaginative and creative reach is not beyond her reach, it's within her capacity. And this is a wonderful example, this motherly lioness figure, and it's a personification of, you mentioned wisdom, Theolin, for you, wisdom, and this mother figure as well, this figure that gives a sense of safety to you. And so that's what personification is. It's a representation of some abstract quality, can be in human form, but it can be in this kind of lioness type mythical form as well. If it does come in that sort of form, there's usually a sense that this figure, this representation, this personification, or this archetypal personification of human qualities, is able to convey those human qualities to us, or those universal qualities to us. We have another example here. Obviously, loss is a representation of the imagination in the first plate in Jerusalem. In plate 34 of Jerusalem, we meet London personified. Blake wrote, "I see London blind and age bent, begging through the streets of Babylon, led by a child. His tears run down his beard." Beautiful lines. And there in the screen, you can see this this ancient figure bent over, this figure of London. And Jerusalem is full of personification, as are Blake's illustrations in Dante's Divine Comedy. So we've got, in his representation of Dante's Divine Comedy, so we've got in the top right an image of a gate, so another portal. He loves portals and gates. And Dante's being led here by the ancient Roman poet Virgil, who wrote the epic poem, the Aeneid. And this is this is something that shows up again and again, and Blake often leads us on a journey, and the journey is a journey usually of descent and then ascent and reconciliation in some way in a lot of his work. And so this gate is the gate to hell, and then on to purgatory and paradise. And Virgil here is representing the poetic imagination and is Dante's guide. And I want now for you to meet your poetic guide. I don't want to rest on this too much. I mean, I find myself being drawn into the imagery, into, just into this wonderful plate here with London being guided, and we could go into it and unpick it. But I prefer just to kind of rest with this idea that Blake has created many versions of personifications, the way he was seeing it. You might have see London differently to that. You might see the Divine Comedy, your own representation of it differently. Our imaginations are all unique because we are all unique, and whatever we do with something or someone else's story, many stories are recreated. In fact, many people think there's only 7 key stories and they're all replayed again and again and again. So whatever you do, it will be unique. Your imagination is part of you and who you are, and the most important thing is to feel safe and held, and to have a sense of having a right to share your voice, even if it's just with you on the page, to share your imaginative vision. And so I encourage you in this next exercise to, and I feel that everyone here, or everyone who's spoken for sure, but there's a sense of allowing in this space that we're sharing now, and giving permission to kind of allow your pen to rock and roll on the page. So do allow it to do that. And I'm going to now move us into the next meditation. So forget all of those words. Here in front of us is on the right hand side in blue. This is Virgil leading Dante into this epic journey they're about to embark on. But I'm going to just click back actually to this door that you first stepped through. This is a door that I'm going to suggest that you step through again. Or if you wish, you can just breathe yourself back into that wonderful space that you've just been to, your safe, creative space. I encourage you to always start from this place. So now, pen and paper near you, closing your eyes, letting go of all of those words, having the image of the door to vision in front of your inner eye, and connecting to the breath, connecting to the golden light, connecting to the sense of safety in your body that you've just experienced on the previous meditation. If you take anything away today and leave the rest, bin everything else, please take this sense of safety with you. This is the most creative sensation you can connect with. So breathing yourself now, either stepping through the door again, if you like stepping through portals, which I quite like, or breathing yourself straight back into your safe, creative space. So Janie, you're back in your cave. Lizzie, you're back in the womb in this changeable environment full of feathers, pile upon pile. Hayley, you're back in this beautiful beach with the city in the background, playing with shells. Sterling, you're back in this very richly furnished palace room. This very ancient feeling and connecting to the smell of incense. So opening up all of your senses now. Very powerful if you did bring in the sense of smell. Perhaps if you didn't last time, bring that in now. Connecting to the body and breathing in this space. So finding that comfortable place that you wanted to rest in, to position yourself in. Reconnecting with safety, this feeling of safety in your body. You can conjure it up from your imagination now, whenever you want, reconnecting with this sense of relaxation and play. And now you have a strong sense of being and breathing in this space. Look around, because time works differently here. Just check in that it's feeling safe enough for you. If there's anything you want to change now to make it feel safer, go ahead. Staying with the breath, relaxing into this space, relaxing into whatever changes you made. And if your space is changeable, relaxing and allowing that transformation to happen around you. Enjoying, sitting with a sense of wonder and curiosity. And breathing. Just letting yourself relax your shoulders in this space. Allowing yourself to connect your feet to the ground and relaxing the soles of your feet in this space. And slowing the breath. And relaxing a little bit more. Reconnecting with how you feel in this space. Safe, and with a sense of curiosity for some of you, of excitement for others, reconnecting what the space is for you. And when you're ready, invite in your guide of your poetic imagination. Invite them in. It might be someone you know. It may be a figure from history. It could be a mythical figure. Selin, just notice, is it your lioness who comes? She may be there again already. Or does someone else come too? Another mythical figure. Just noticing, observing this character, noticing what do they look like physically? What's their height compared to yours? How tall are they? Is there anything unusual? Maybe they have very, very green skin, or Perhaps they have a very, very large nose, very, very blue eyes. Notice how you feel in their presence. What's their energy like? Do they exude kindness? Do they have a sage-like quality? Are they very, very wise? Do you have a joker here? Do you have a comedian? A trickster? A playful character? Do you have an emperor type energy or a sovereign type energy that you're connecting with? Or do you have the energy of someone who understands what it is to be very, very content? What is the energy that you are sensing from this character, from your guide? This guide of your imagination, your poetic imagination, an aspect of your psyche personified, an aspect of the collective imagination that we're all part of. But this archetype is personal to you. Someone once had a plum because plums made her feel very, very safe and creative, because she used to play as a child. She thought the reason was under a Victoria plum tree in her grandmother's garden, and used to eat and make plum jam. So this was a talking, flying plum. So don't judge it. Could be anything. Might be an energy. Some people have seen another version of themselves. Might be invisible and just an energy. I say just because that's the most powerful part of these personal archetypes, these personal guides that come to assist us on the journey. So when you have a strong sense of being with your guide, there might be a burning question that you have. Personal to you, you don't need to share it, even if you choose to share your work. If you have a burning question, ask it now. And the answer may not come in words, it might do, but the imagination speaks in images and symbols and emotions, not so often words. So notice what happens. Notice how you feel. The answer might be a feeling. And then ask your guide, do you have a name? And you may sense the answer. You may hear it, but you may sense the answer telepathically. But if your guide has a voice, what is their voice like? Is it deep? Is it slow? Is it level? Is it friendly? Is it a bit cagey? Just notice the voice. Ask your guide if your guide has a message for you, for your creative journey. For it is a journey that you are embarking on now. and or ask for a gift. Ask your guide for a gift for your creative journey. Describe it in your mind. Get a good sense of this gift. Is it a feeling? Is it invisible? Does it come with a bow on it? Is it pink? Is it grey? Is it white? What's its shape? What's its texture? Get a good sense of it. If it has a smell, what does it smell like? If you can eat it, what does it taste like? And now your guide is here to take you to the location at the beginning of your creative journey. There's a location, a place your guide wants to show you. And you choose if you want to go with your guide. And if you choose to go, notice how you are transported. Are you transported to this location at the beginning of your quest, the beginning of your creative journey? Are you taken telepathically there? Do you fly there? Do you chug along on a double-decker bus? Perhaps you're taken in a sedan chair. How do you transport yourself and your guide? Or how does your guide transport you? Both. And where do you find yourself? Where is the location at the beginning of your creative journey? Get a good sense of this place in the same way that you did in your safe creative place. If anyone doesn't enjoy this space, you can go back whenever you want to your safe creative space. Breathe in this sense. Breathe it into the body, connecting with this location at the beginning of your journey. And if you feel to, you can ask your guide, why here? It might be entirely evident why here to you. But if you wonder, what am I doing here? Why this place? Could be somewhere you've been to in the past, somewhere familiar to you, or it could be somewhere on another planet entirely. Could be somewhere you didn't expect to be. You could ask your guide, why here? And when you're ready, get a sense of the answer if it comes. And then when you're ready, breathe yourself back into your safe creative space. Reconnecting with the golden light in the center of your chest. Imagining this light moving down your writing hand into the palm of your hand. And when you're ready, picking up your pen and describing your guide, the guide to your poetic imagination, who's going to take you on this journey, or at least the beginning of it. What does your guide look like? Anything unusual about the way your guide looks? The color of their skin, color of their eyes, the way they're dressed, the way they walk, their voice. If they have a name, write it down. If they had a personal message for you, or an answer to your personal question, write down the question and the answer. Like dreams, if you don't write down both, you'll forget. So sometimes people write down answers and can't remember what the question is, and it becomes meaningless. So write both down. They may have a message or a gift for your creative journey, or both. What is the message? What is the gift? Describe the gift. And where did they take you? And if it's relevant, how did you get there? So how did they transport you to the location at the beginning of your creative journey? And why here? Why this location? And describe this location. Describe the colors. This might be very, very different to your safe creative space. It might feel very different. Describe it through your senses as you did before. So getting as much of the detail down as you can. It's quite a lot here. So you might want to take some notes and finish writing after the session. So key things that stood out to you about your guide and how they made you feel. And the message for your journey, or the gift. And if you went to a location at the beginning of your creative journey, describe that, because you might want to return to continue with this journey. Your guide's here to serve you. Did they tell you why here? And if so, make a note. So just one more minute. Getting the details on the page. And now finishing up. And would anyone like to share Lulu.
The arch is long and dark. At its end stands a man short, eyes stark. I know those eyes full of fire and mirth, one who remained in the other world at birth. He beckons me to the building behind him. Although human, he's sprightly, like a seraphim. I enter a room with a fireplace. There's a divan, a Turkish rug. It's a warm, small space. He points at the fire, it crackles, and then I nod. He shakes his head. That is the shadow of the fire of God. There's a fire that burns red. That is the human flame man uses to weld. There's a fire that burns blue. This is the secret fire I'll show to you. The flame that burns the lead to gold. The fire colored like sapphire, magical to behold. The secret flame of the alchemist. The light that no poet can resist. I say to Blake, your words are true. Please teach me the secret fire that burns blue. Blake says we must descend to hell, the streams of yellow sulfur and its evil smell. Sulfur fire burns the color sapphire. We must walk amongst the devils in order to sing with the angelic choir.
Amazing, Lulu. That's amazing. And yes, we do have to descend to hell, quite right, in order to ascend. So the message is all there, this beautiful poem. How did it feel to write it? It felt like it must have just flowed out of you. Is that right?
Yes, I started with the image of the arch, and then I saw a man there spontaneously. It felt like a dream. And he was short and he had these eyes and he reminded me of Blake, and I thought that must be him.
Amazing. So the poet himself has come to you in such a similar way as Virgil came to Dante. Wonderful. And how did it feel to be in his presence? The one that stayed in the other world at birth. I just love that line.
A bit terrifying, I suppose.
Terrifying.
A little bit, yeah.
What was the terrifying part of it?
It seems like a poet who isn't afraid of, dragging you into hell's level, who isn't afraid of, devils and the flames of the creative fire. I've forgotten that quote that Blake says about like walking in hell and delighting in the fires of hell.
Yes, and your answer's in the poem, isn't it? The blue fire, the alchemist's secret fire, that turns lead into gold. So you're very much picking up on these symbols of transformation of the human soul, which is the journey that Blake is taking us on again and again and again in all of his poems, I think. And so it was terrifying, yes, because, and I think this is the thing, this is why we created this place of safety, because writing is a very dangerous sport. We are taken into the hell realms of our imagination, and because it's a journey of transformation, and that lead into gold only happens when we dare to go into these terrifying places. So yes, the fear's there, but was there anything else along with the fear, or was it just feeling a bit terrified?
Not completely terrified. It's like when people say they see an angel of God, and it's terrifying and beautiful at the same time. Terror and beauty are intricately intertwined, or like seeing the face of God and like falling flat on your face. And poetry is kind of like that, this paradox of safety and at the same time terror. Like Moses in front of the fire and he just collapses in front of God. And because something sacred and very beautiful can also kind of strike us with fear. And then the angel always says, do not be afraid. Even though it's not a devil, it's an angel. It's sacred and it's good, but the good can also inspire terror and horror.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, this is a wonderful poem. do you feel there's more words to come? Will you continue with this, or does it feel,
Absolutely.
yeah?
I've always wanted to write about that secret blue fire, the sulfur fire that burned sapphire, and I've just never, its words never came out. And when I heard about this workshop, I was like, I have to take it. And I was so surprised when you did the meditation, and boom, it just came. I'm so grateful. I'm going to continue with this. Yeah.
Wonderful. I'm so pleased to hear that. Wonderful. Well done. Yes, and
Thank
you
you.
have, wow, what a guide you have. You have Blake himself. You can't go wrong with him. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. We have time for one more.
I think we have Linda Levine there. Yeah.
Linda, hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay. It's nice to be here. So it's not a poem, but I've just written exactly what was going on, like the visual thing. So as I started, I found myself entering back into the safe place, the place that I was before. It was an old, dark library. The walls are filled with books, and there's a smell of old leather and old paper. And surprisingly, William Shakespeare appeared in the library, and he was pacing backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. He looked at me with piercing blue eyes, and he said to me, he was very direct, and said to me, listen to your intuition. Don't think about what you write, just allow the words to flow. He gave me a long feather it looked like a peacock feather. It was very bright, and he handed it to me, and I felt total curiosity, but I also felt in awe. And we were transported out from the library to a maze, and we were walking around together, walking through the maze. It was very green, very lush. The walls of the maze were very high, and he just kept saying to me, just follow your intuition. And I asked him, why are we here? And he said, it was to show me how I'm constantly searching, but there's only one exit from the maze, and I have to find it. And that was it. And I sort of was left in the maze, wondering which way do I go? And I just felt I wanted to go back to the library where I'd started, that felt so safe. And maybe the answer was in one of those books on the shelf, but I don't know.
Ah, but you do, because William Shakespeare himself has told you, listen to your intuition. You know, but you feel you don't know. Where did that don't know come in? Is it after or in the space in the maze? Did something
It,
happen in the
it
maze?
was in the maze. We were
Yeah.
walking and walking around. And I think at some point I said to him, where are we? Where are we? And intuitively he said, Hampton Court. I was like, okay, is there a maze at Hampton Court? Maybe I should
There
go
is.
there. And is there?
I think so, yeah.
I'm not sure. Maybe that's where I need to go and just wander about. So I don't know. It was um it was quite curious, because I wasn't expecting to see William Shakespeare suddenly appear in front of me. And it was in the library, it was all quite dark and very oldie worldy looking, and he fitted in there perfectly. And I had a sense from the beginning, when I first went into the safe place, I'd actually been there before.
Okay. Do you recognize it, or you just had a sense you've been there perhaps in a dream or in real life?
Maybe in a dream. I don't really reckon. It was a very high ceiling, and the walls were just filled with books, but it was kind of like a circular room, and the bookshelves just went all the way around, and there was a window with stained glass that when I looked out, to start with, it was like rainy and dark and grey. But then when we left, we looked out of the window together, and when we looked out, it was quite sunny and bright, and there were these beautiful gardens. And then we transported from the room straight to the maze. So yeah, wasn't what I expected.
Wonderful. And yes, I mean, William Shakespeare said very rich. It's very rich material that you have there. definitely, obviously, Elizabethan, do go to Hampton Court and have a walk around the maze.
I will.
It's also makes me think this listen to your intuition, this repetition of labyrinths. Labyrinths, a symbol of the transformational journey the soul, all of us go on in our lives, or can be seen that way. One exit. So you can't actually get lost. What he's saying is to you, you can't get lost here.
Mm.
Trust.
Yeah,
You might not see the
yeah.
exit, but there is an exit, and if you keep going, you will be led out of the exit. So that there's a repetition, isn't there? Listen to your intuition. Don't think, listen to your intuition.
Mm.
That's the best creative advice that anyone could give. And of course, because it came from the man himself. So another powerful guide. What's your relationship with William Shakespeare?
I like his work. I love his work. So yeah, maybe it's just reinforcing that connection. I don't know. It's I was surprised to see him appear. I was expecting to see something like a spirit guide or a totem, an animal, something like that. Even being in the library was quite unusual for me, because normally when I do a visualization or I meditate and I'm going on a journey, I'll go somewhere like the forest or sometimes the beach. So actually being inside an enclosed building that was so clear, so vivid, with all these books, yeah, it was, I'm a little bit kind of shocked from it because it was so different.
Yes. Yes, it's what our imagination wants to do is quite often, when we go into these meditative states, is quite often not what we think we want. And so that can be surprising and fun as well. Interesting, because something is happening in the space, because there are a few libraries. Thierlin had a trip to Bodleian type library and was told to trust, and Haley ended up in a library as well. And was surrounded by words that were outside of the books. So yes, I think definitely, if you can get to Hampton Court and just allow yourself, if you go into the maze, to not think, just follow Shakespeare's advice.
Yes.
And just follow your intuition and allow yourself to be comfortable with being lost in the maze, perhaps.
Well, when I was in the library at the beginning, I felt hungry for the words. I can't explain exactly what that means, but that's what I was feeling, sensing, that I felt hungry for the words.
Words. So there's some nourishment here potentially in this creative environment. Then I would encourage you to go back there and hungry for the words. I think, yes, you're being called to write. It's going to be nourishing, nurturing for you, perhaps.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to just let you know what you've done. Amazing. What you practiced today is you have some exercises that can help you connect to your senses. You've practiced writing from your intuition. You now have 3 soul writing techniques. So to meditate, then write, rather than think, then write. This inner space, I encourage you to go back there again and again. And a creative guide. 5 storytelling techniques. So I don't believe that we need to, I have taught storytelling, but I don't actually think we need to teach human beings storytelling. If people have a healthy brain, we just naturally are storytellers. So you've created location, you created character, you have narrative, you've done some dialoguing, and you've got the trick of the trade there on the page, which every novelist knows. You have to use the senses and it has to be embodied. So well done. And you've dialogued with your poetic guide using your unique imagination, so you can continue this journey. So well done, everyone. There's a few tips that I just wanted to cover off for those of you. I mean, this might be it. You've showed up. Hopefully you've had a surprising or exciting or interesting time, and that might be the end of it. But for those of you that would like to continue, the breath is the most important thing when you write. breathing and the body. Writing is all about being in the body. We think about the imagination sometimes as something outside of ourselves. No, it's very much inside of us. And if you're doing any creative writing, in order for your readers to connect with your characters, they need to be in the body of your characters and walking around in the bodies of your characters. So you're the character in this story so far. That could change. You can bring in other characters. You've already got the character of your guide, but that's really very important. If you're going to write a blog or a report or something more academic, still connect with your breath, connect to your body, return to your safe creative sanctuary, your safe space, so you connect with that feeling of safety and play. Even if it's work you're doing, connect with play first and you'll do the work much easier, I find. Call in your guide and then just rest into your imagination. Follow your intuition. Don't judge your work. And this is also with academic writing. The editing is where we bring in all of the analysis. But if you're doing drafting and getting the first draft on the page, just follow your imagination, just follow your intuition. Don't judge your work. And very useful to carve out regular writing time. So just deciding you're going to sit for 20 minutes and write every week. Allow yourself for maybe an hour just in case it flows, but don't put any pressure on yourself. Just say, okay, I'm going to write for 20 minutes. Saturday morning's a good time for me because no one's in the house, for example. What's the best time for your brain? My brain works better in the morning. Yours might work better in the middle of the night. There's I think Martina Cole, the thriller writer, she told me she starts work at about 10 o'clock when everyone's gone to bed, and she writes through the night till about 4 in the morning. That's her writing practice. So work out what's best for you, and the frequency and the place you're going to write in. So some people like to burn some incense first and write at home and create a special place for writing. I like cafes. I like to put my headphones on and sit in a cafe and write. The caffeine helps too, my brain, maybe not yours. But I would suggest that you find a place that you're comfortable writing in as well, and get into a routine of going back to your safe place every time you rest into a writing session. I'm going to stop there. I've got a quote here: intuition is a sacred gift. This is an Einstein quote, not Blake's, but I love this quote. And I'm going to open up to any questions if anyone has any questions.
Yeah. If everyone would like to put their cameras on, or anyone who wants to, and then we can see you as well as hear you. Just wanted to comment that Hayley McDonnell, who spoke earlier, said in the chat, I ended up in a library too and was surrounded by words that were outside the books. And Blake wrote, when I write, I see the words fly about the room.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the spirit of Blake is here with us in this session for sure. That's wonderful, Hayley.
Yeah. So, yeah, any questions? We've got time for a couple of quick questions for Sarah. If you use the raised hand function in the reactions tab, that will be good. Alan Mulhern is about to speak. Can we stop the screen share, Sarah, Ian?
Yes.
That'd be good. Oh, there's everybody.
Hello.
Hi,
Can you hear
Alan.
me? Hi there. I didn't know I was going to speak now, but I'm quite happy to. I put up my raised hand early on in the meeting, and I didn't have, it wasn't time to listen, so for me to speak. So Stephen's kindly asked me now. I really enjoyed it. Not so much a question here, Sarah. It was really beautiful to be here and to let go and to give myself a couple of hours. And what I did was basically I just had paper and pencil and And to every question you get, like who's the muse or the location, the gift, and so on, I just did a drawing spontaneously with the pencil without thinking what the drawing was going to be. So it was more like scribbling and moving around in a circle, whatever action seemed nice to do. And the one I did towards the end was the most interesting for me. Well, they're all a bit peculiar actually, but this one was the muse. When you asked who the muse was, and I did a drawing of somebody facing away from me, and this seemed very important, with a pigtail, long hair, and a hand raised and sketching like on a portrait, and which I realized later was a sketch of me as a child. And the muse, I asked the muse's name, and it was Mercury and Venus, Mercury and Hermes, Hermes in Greek and Mercury in Rome. And I had a conversation, and it was great. And I just like to say it was really, and poetry came as quite naturally, not as good as the penultimate contributor, whose poem was fantastic, and really, really moving. And I enjoyed everyone else's contributions very, very much, and a great pleasure to listen to. So not so much a question, just feedback on the experience. So thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Alan. And I won't even start. I mean, obviously, I'm very drawn in by this sketching, and the portrait was of you as a child. But as a Jungian analyst, and having been my Jungian analyst, I know that I would be in very strange waters to start interpreting that in any way. But I'm sure that you've got some ideas about this very interesting muse sketching your portrait of you as a child on the easel. That's amazing.
I was told, and I wrote down, don't analyze it, Alan. Don't give an interpretation. The face will turn around in good time and let you know what you need to know. But don't read too much into it. But it was very important. Yes, there was a child being painted, and it seemed like a very female looking at her muse. Although it's called Mercury or Hermes, but Hermes was quite, one way or the other. He could be anything he liked. Great, yeah. So I'm not going to analyze it. So
yeah, amazing, and that's maybe what you needed to hear as a Jungian analyst. this is yeah, absolutely, and amazing that you're drawing. I mean, I didn't suggest that to people, but yeah, some people do just naturally draw. So good that you went with that and followed your intuition.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
I think we have one last question from Lulu, who's right here. Fantastic.
So the quote I was trying to remember about the fires of hell was, as I was walking among the fires of hell, delighted with the enjoyments of genius, which to angels look like torment and insanity, I collected some of their proverbs. And as the gentleman who was speaking before talked about Jung, and they're so similar, and I've always been so fascinated by them. And Jung talks about the imagination as a personification of called Mercurius or Hermes. And he says about hell again, he's talking about Mercurius, his fiery aspect was sulfurous, active and masculine, and yet invisible and working in secret. He was the fire of hell. I was just wondering what you think about that darker aspect, because you guide us into a safe space, but a lot of times for some people, creativity is this really dangerous game that sort of leaves us in awe, in pain, or traumatized, or maybe transmutation of trauma, but we still have to live out that trauma in that safe space.
Yes, yeah, I think it's really important. The reason we go to a safe place is because creativity is a dangerous sport. As I said, it takes us into some of the darker places of ourselves. It can do, not always, but it can do. And that's where the gold is. So in your poem about the alchemical transformation, the blue flame, that secret flame, that's the secret journey of the alchemist, which really, if you want to learn about that, then you need Alan to tell you. But it's very interesting that you bring Jung in. And what you said about, Alan, did you know that? I mean, you probably know Jung's writing better than a lot of people. Did you know of Jung's view of Mercury, this mercurial energy? I think Alan's on mute.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. We might have to leave that one for another time. I
Yeah,
fear.
Mercury in alchemy.
Yeah.
Chemical.
Mercury in alchemy, yes, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I think what I've noticed is, thank you, that there's what happens in groups sometimes is that there's a connection between people's imagination, because there's no boundaries in the imagination. So I think there's a wonderful overlapping. And yes, Lulu, we can go to some dangerous places, as did Blake, in our imaginations. So I always encourage everyone to connect back into that sense of safety if you ever do.
Fantastic. So yes, and Jung, of course, famously gave us his red book, which is Word and Images. And when Sonu Shamdasani, its editor, first opened it, he said, "My goodness, it's like William Blake." And Jung said that Goethe and Blake were two of the only Westerners he knew of who'd actually attained enlightenment awareness. So many, many parallels and crossovers there. Sarah, what a wonderful workshop session that was. That really took us into so many exciting and amazing places. It's really interesting, this idea of the safe place, but also of the, Blake says, fear and hope are vision. And there is that element, awful combines that idea of awe and the beauty and the sublime, but also of something potentially that can be very powerfully galvanizing and frightening and stiffen the sinews. But that was an amazing session. You led us so expertly. I'd say like Virgil. We need you were the female Virgil in this situation.
That would
leading
make me a virgin, I think.
Yeah, my guide was Mary Magdalene. If
Was it? Okay, wonderful.
Absolutely, yes, yeah. Well, I'm very fond of Mary Magdalene, so I wasn't that surprised to see her with her alabaster jar full of fragrant unguent. But
wonderful.
yeah, you led us through such a wonderful experience this evening, and there's been so many adulatory comments going on in the chat. There's a discount code that Sarah's offering for her website courses, 50% discount if you put in Blake 50, Blake 50, and we shall be putting that all in the newsletter as well. So that's just fantastic. And I think it's really good for us at the Blake Society to have these interactive sessions where we don't just talk, but we actually do something, produce something that's directly creative. And the imagination is so engaged in the way in which Blake engaged his. So yes, we can sort of do a visual applause.
I applaud you all for your work. It's just so rich, and your wonderful imaginative journeys. I'm really honored to. I would have loved to have listened to everyone's, but thank you everyone for sharing that did.
Fantastic, fantastic.
Brilliant. Yes, if only we could have had longer, we could have gone into even more depth, but that opportunity is there for people to work and develop it, Sarah, isn't it? So thank you again. That really was a unique session for us. And I hope we'll see you again in the very near future, and perhaps live in the room.